All right, now is the official start of the podcast.
Now we're starting. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the
Podcast.
Corridor Digital Podcast. We are here with Christian, Nick, and Jan.
Hello,
Now,
hello.
most of you guys probably know Christian and Nick, but Jan might be a fresh face to a couple of you guys. He's been on the fringes of the channel for years, ever since we met him back in the day when he did Dubstep Guns. You might remember him as the villain from that.
Oh man, was that your guys' first project together?
Yep.
That's when we met. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
In a brick factory in the
Chino Hills.
deepest part of LA.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So-
shot on an FS 100. What was
Yep.
that? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Yep.
Oh,
And Jan is now at Corridor helping us out with Node, as well as a couple other things. Like he shot the that Ghost Hunters video that we did. Jan is a accomplished DP, and knows his way around a camera or two. But he also knows his way around talking about some interesting subjects as well, which is why he has joined us on this podcast. And
I am
yeah.
a lover of life. What can I say? I just love this big planet we're on and all the weird, crazy shit on it. So, yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, to kick things off, it's a classic prompt, but it's a simple one. And
We got a prompt.
all right. So first things first, we're going to talk about time travel, but I
Okay.
got to establish the
Okay.
rules because time travel is all made up. And that's one of the problems if you ever watch a movie about time travel and you start thinking about the logic and being like, well, does this make sense? Hey, guess what? It's all made up. So when a filmmaker just comes up with a bullshit reason for why things work, it's just as legitimate as if they don't.
As anything else. Yeah.
Yes. But so in this hypothetical, you're going to go back in time.
Okay.
But from that point forwards, life will proceed as normal. Things are not set in stone. It's not like one of those weird, like somehow you'll trip and fall in the exact same way that you've always been determined to fall that will cause the same thing to happen. And the Hindenburg will still blow up, etc. Like
Sure.
so the future from your point of view can still change. It's just life as normal. Things can change.
So
Right.
your actions can change the future.
In fact, in this hypothetical, it's almost the same thing as if you just got a letter from the future saying, hey, this is what's up. And then you can just act from there. So anyways, knowing all this, if you're going to go back in time and you met Hitler as a baby, would you
All
be
right. First of
justified?
all, I'm sorry. We got to go back a little. How? Where do I meet Hitler?
You'd be
Maybe
going back
Hitler
to-
specifically.
You'd be going to Austria.
So, like,
Yeah.
we're an assassination squad at this point. We are.
No. Just you step through a wormhole suddenly, and now you're back in time. You're in Austria
In this little hut in
whatever-
Austria where there's this little
Yeah.
baby.
So I have not purposely gone here.
No, you're just
Okay.
there.
Okay.
You're just-
But do
And
we
you
know-
see this baby,
Yeah.
and the baby has all the potentials that any baby has. It can grow up to be anything, but you know that this baby's name is Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
And you know that. Okay, so we know that. Okay.
So the baby is Adolf Hitler, but it's Adolf as a baby.
We
you-
know where
what-
this is going. Yeah.
What would you
take
do?
him out?
Would
Yeah,
you
what
take
would
him
you
out? Would you
do?
be
Are you
justified, or would that be
justified?
morally wrong because it's a baby and anything could happen? Babies are pure innocent creatures.
I mean, this is close to the trolley argument, right? The if you see a train that's out of control and it's heading toward 5 people, but you can pull a lever and switch it toward killing 1 person as opposed to 5.
Mm-hmm.
You are more morally just. What makes you more morally just?
Yeah, making the switch or just letting it play out.
Or like, and in this case, shooting baby Hitler. Or suffocating baby Hitler, or any number of ways of.
I mean, it also brings into question, nature versus nurture. Is baby Hitler evil, or is it
Is
his
it not
circumstances
totally
that kind of formed him into
Baby
this?
Hitler's definitely the seeds of evil.
Is it possible for a
I
baby
mean,
to
his
be
father
evil?
was not a nice guy, so you could
He
take out his
did-
father.
Take
That
out
might
his
help.
father
some,
and he
some
gets
stuff.
rid of all that
Yeah.
abuse.
Yeah, but we have not stepped through a wormhole and magically found ourselves in the moral not dilemma of just beating up Hitler's dad.
Get a time
and
machine
telling him,
farther.
yeah, like that's not the moral dilemma we find ourselves in now. The moral dilemma we find ourselves in now is we have like a 5-minute window with baby Hitler before
Yes.
people start thinking, what the fuck is that dude doing with baby Hitler?
So Niko, in this in this scenario here, does World War II still happen even if Hitler goes away? when he's a
The
baby?
future is as undecided as anything else. It is right now. We do not know what's going to happen in our current future. So it's just right back then. You're at that point. You're living in the present, and anything could happen. Now, realistically, World War One has World War One already happened?
Yes.
Was
Hitler
Hitler
fought
born?
in it. Yeah, he fought in
Hitler
World War
fought-
One. He was decorated.
So then this would be
wow.
before World War
This is
One.
before World War One. If
This is before World War One. This is still 1890s, I think, probably.
So theoretically, anything could happen. there might
we
not.
can avoid all the world wars, or
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting
I don't
into
know.
Franz Ferdinand.
I don't think baby Hitler had much to do with that.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
those
think-
Napoleonic treaties are still in place.
What you could do is go to the British artillery gunner who just missed Hitler on the front line and just, tell him to aim a little bit left.
Yeah, but we have to, again, you are averting us toward a much less morally complicated situation. The problem that we are faced with is 5 minutes alone
Yeah.
with baby Hitler.
5 minutes alone with baby Hitler. What do you do?
What do you do? Okay.
What do you do?
man.
All right, I'm putting you guys on the spot now. What do you do?
You only get 5 minutes, and you're transported back to the new future based off whatever your decision is.
No, you have to still live out in the. You have to. There's no going back. You're stuck in that time. for the
Okay,
rest of your life.
so maybe I
Wow.
don't have 5 minutes. Maybe I decide to raise baby Hitler, and
Maybe, but you'll have to kidnap
Whoa.
that baby out of the
so
hospital.
you're then kidnapping that baby. And you're
So
You
he's
could do it. They didn't really have
Okay.
GPS
oh,
back
interesting,
then. You could do
interesting.
it.
Okay.
and I mean, yeah, I think even Hitler's mom would be like, I mean, giving up Hitler, that's fine. She'd be probably okay with
You
it.
think so?
No, his mother.
Taking a baby from the mom?
No, I'm-
His mother would probably kill you. She was a peasant, strong peasant woman, and she would
She has
not.
a sharpened pitchfork.
So what do you do when
Clyra-
you try to steal Hitler
yeah.
from the hospital, and there's this butch Austrian peasant mother who's reared 6 children who
Oh,
have
sh-
almost all died, and Hitler is her
Sure.
one child who's actually
Sure.
survived from her marriage. So it's extra special to
Oh,
her.
man.
What do you do, Jen?
Oh man,
I
I forgot
mean-
how much of a history buff you were, Nick.
Yeah, I knew Nick had to be here because he knows what's going on. He
I
knows
mean, if we're
the
talking about
backstory.
Hitler, I mean, if we're thinking about killing Hitler, there's some details
There's
we're going to
some-
need to learn.
I
From a
think
troubled
there's
childhood.
I think there's a bigger question
Okay.
here that we are all just stepping over, which is how obliterated drunk do you have to get to kidnap or kill a baby? Because
No.
that's
That's a
it's
good
different.
question, but I think once again we're starting to dodge around. We're dancing
okay.
a little bit here.
Sure, we are
Because
dancing.
we know
You
the
want to take
context.
you got
the
5
dance.
minutes. You're right there. Your life might sweep you on. You might never see him again until he's in charge of a lot of bad things. Got those 5 minutes. What do you do?
Yeah, because the facts are we know if we do nothing, he's going to grow up to be the Hitler. And
Mhm.
Sure.
so,
Do you
Man,
bonk him on the
what
head a
do
little
you
bit?
do?
Just make him a little bit.
Right? Or like look,
I mean-
look, and I understand what I'm about to say is like stepping into weird morally gray territory, but do you just like cleave off an arm? Because like,
Okay, I mean,
Because like
Get rid of a limb.
a one-armed dude is not
Yeah.
going to demand the command that Hitler had, right? Like, just
it's a good
do
point.
you what do you do there? Because
just smash a foot or two. Like, I don't know.
right, do you hobble him?
This is-
Because then
This is- It's getting a little bit nitty gritty here. Jeez.
It just raises
I mean,
so
I think the
many
question
additional
is just-
questions.
Do you do it? Do you kill him? Would that do anything?
that's the
I
Would that
couldn't kill a
stop-
baby though.
So-
Even baby Hitler. That's tough.
I'm with Jan.
That's
I don't think I
tough.
could kill a baby.
I don't
either.
think I can
Yeah.
kill a baby, but
But
I would.
hobble a baby? Hobble a baby?
But it's just tough though, because do you just do nothing and let history play out how it plays out? Because that's tough. That's a tough
you could-
decision to make too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also. I mean, part of there also is the deterministic. What happens in life happens.
Happened.
And
Sure.
our human perspective on the value of things is entirely invented by humans. So the universe is impartial to Hitler.
Personally, when I have to ponder this question, and I have pondered this question many times,
Oh, we know.
I have to basically weigh. It leads me to an existential crisis of: am I okay with never have been existing?
Ooh.
Mm.
if it saves all the suffering of all those people that
Of all those people,
am I
sure,
cool with
sure.
probably not existing in that timeline. So I would disappear if I killed the baby. I would probably just boop.
Mhm.
Yeah, probably I am.
Whoa.
I mean, so many events would change, right? Like just
Dude,
America
it's
would
just-
become the superpower it is.
But at the same
Sure.
time, like, just as complex as the events unfolding from killing a baby in Austria in, late
So you're
1800s or whatever.
I think you just stepped on. You're killing a baby. You're going for the
Well,
Hitler baby.
where I'm getting at is just as complex as it can get from killing that baby, right? What could happen, what could not happen. I don't think that World War II necessarily was all caused because of him.
Oh no!
He
And the Nazi
capitalized on
Party
all
would
that.
still rise. It just wouldn't have as charismatic a lead. There were other guys involved.
So we're trying to stop the rising of this charismatic leader who takes them further than they would.
Because I mean, it's
That's what we're
hard.
trying to
Yeah, because I just don't think the Jews would have been wrapped into it as badly as they ended up getting wrapped into it if Hitler wasn't there. Sure, World War II happened. Sure, a lot of bad, but at least you're
for sure.
able to push the spear a little bit away from that community. Yeah.
That's a good point too.
Yeah.
Man.
All
I
right.
don't know, man. I mean, I'm of the mind of not killing the baby.
Would you do anything to the baby?
No, I would probably go meddle in some other affairs that are happening later. But
Okay.
I wouldn't kill a baby. I might take out the
You
dad.
can't just
I might take
morally
out.
step back. So what? You live the rest of your life just like plotting a.
No, I mean, I've
We've been given
Figuring
the
out
whole-
do,
which changes will help the future.
We've been given the question. And first of all, that
Here's what I
sounds like
do.
a rad script. A dude that like is trapped in the past and is doing his best to like shift the timeline on the events that he knew. Anyway.
What I might do is take the gun and shoot his dad instead.
Okay.
Okay, so you think without Papa Hitler,
So
Hitler
grows up-
isn't as bad?
Yeah, grows up without a father figure, but maybe doesn't have some of that early childhood abuse or stuff that may have pushed him in that direction.
I think so. I think he might have, his mom might have remarried into maybe a nicer guy because his dad was a total a-hole.
Yeah,
But
give
Nick,
us
what
the
if that
facts
leads to
on his
him
dad.
winning World War II then? What if it makes him just even a better leader? Because he like
Dude,
And like his
Exactly,
mom,
exactly.
his
This is
mom
where they
ends
go.
up marrying some Turk, and now instead of the Turks, right, he's setting up the concentration camp. I just can't.
Ottoman swastika, yeah.
I mean, nature versus
you can-
nurture is starting to come up, but yeah.
I think that's a major question, though. When you simplify the question of like, are you going to kill a baby or not? Then yeah, I mean,
That's
if
look.
you're gonna
That's
go
why I'm
anywhere
saying.
else,
That's
then-
why I'm saying you hobble them. It's the best of both worlds. All right.
You know what? I agree with you, Jan. You bonk him
Quick
on the head,
hobbling.
call it a day.
blind him in one eye or something. Maybe
Yeah,
an eye
something-
patch, or maybe he
that's pretty cool, though. An eye patch is someone you'd follow someone with an eye patch.
Yeah.
But maybe everybody knows he's bad a little bit more quickly when he has an eye patch. It's like, oh, watch out for that guy. He's evil. It's like,
Yeah,
I haven't
he's
done
not
anything
so
yet. It's like, you have an eye patch.
You could just get like a really hot spoon and just burn the top of his lip so he could never grow hair there.
Oh, yeah.
So
That might
There you
change
go.
things.
he's just this bald-faced man for the rest of his life.
That's our word.
I'm sorry. My apologies, Jan.
You get a B pass for now.
Thanks.
Christian, what about you?
I mean, I
What's
would
your...
agree that somebody with maybe a few lesser limbs would not be so pedestaled. That's
Right, and nothing against amputee. Yeah,
No, totally, of course.
Yeah.
But
They weren't exactly nice to like crippled people back in those days.
that too. That
have
too.
a good life.
Also, being a cripple
Um,
back in that day isn't some like easy affair. Even wheelchairs or whatever aren't gonna be as,
Yeah, but now you have us, instead of killing this baby, we're leading someone into a life of pain and
That's
suffering.
true.
So
Ooh.
yeah, but
does the question there does that
I
change?
go to sleep fine.
Yeah, but the question is that enough to change? I mean, yeah, I guess. Does it change enough events if he's not involved in that way? Because he's probably going to grow up a ridiculed cripple and not really get into that position.
yeah, I mean, if we were to know that it did change it for sure, if someone was like, if you do this, it will change it. We can look into the future too, and we can see that it'll change it.
Yeah,
then,
like you can hop back again real quick.
I'd sleep fine. But you know.
Okay, well let's open up that question. If you could go back and you could prevent World War II from happening, just flip of a switch, would you? Knowing that it's going to change all events from there on out into a
That's a
question.
lot. That's a big historical event we have.
Am I okay with not existing?
I actually would not, because a friend of mine always says this: the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. So I'd rather the World War II we had instead of like the World War II that happens in the 60s with nuclear weapons and mechs.
Yeah.
Tell that to the
That
Japanese.
actually sounds rad.
You know, I think I'm with you on that one. Like,
Good point.
you know, humankind, we step back and like take this like universe, this cosmic lens on like humanity. Like, we have to learn from our mistakes, and like the byproduct of World War II is, hey, let's stop having world wars. You know, it's
True.
all of Europe's like tensions and weird treaties and fuses have all been lit and then diffused, and like there's still repercussions from that we're dealing with to this day. But like,
Yeah, sure.
you know, things would not be what they are now without World War II. But you know, does that historical lesson, has that elevated us now as a culture and like put us on a path to success? You know, to have gotten through the atomic era without killing ourselves.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle that
far.
we
So far.
Yeah.
that
We're not
we
doing
have
it.
not ended in thermonuclear war. But yeah.
It's called like the Great Filter or like the Great Barrier or something like that. It's a thing where as each civilization reaches the point where they can start venturing out into space and becoming a cosmic civilization, they also achieve power to wipe themselves out. And the vast majority of races apparently do, you know, theoretically, according to these like, you know,
we think,
futurologists.
Sure.
And that's one of our great filter moments. I mean, we're still there. Don't get me wrong. Like
we're
at any
right
point,
there.
we can still wipe everybody out. But like, you know,
Yeah.
we at least got through the Cuban Missile Crisis.
And like the dozens of other encounters, I'm sure, between Russia and America, we never and will never hear about.
That guy that was like one of the Russian like silo guards, like all the alarms start going off saying that like they've lost contact with Moscow and missiles have been launched, and they're like, you need to launch missiles because that's the protocol. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna. And then later on, he like, you know, you leave the bunker and you're like, everything's fine. There were no nukes. It's like, you made the right call, buddy.
And then the credits of a student short film right there.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Shit like that happens. That's how close we get to just thermonuclear disasters.
That brings up another moral question. Okay, let's say you are the dude in the missile silo and you get an alert that a nuclear bomb has just landed on New York. And let's say this is not like, oh, maybe it didn't happen. Like, it happened, you know it happened, like there's video feed, etc. And you have the ability to decide to launch a nuke back at the enemy. Would you? Or would you be like, you know what?
Mutually assured destruction. Sure.
Why what's the value in just wiping out 1 million people? Like, why just so we can all be dead? Like,
Just to fire back, yeah.
I mean, we all want to say we wait, probably. We'll all say we're going to wait. But if you're in that circumstance and you've been trained, would you?
I just like pushing buttons. Well, at the end of the day,
we're all screwed.
if there's a button to push, I mean,
Oh man.
Christian.
I mean, it's hard to call. Yeah, I mean, if I'm the person making the decision, it's tough. I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot of emotions in that decision.
yeah, sure.
Did I lose my family in the New York blast or whatever? I mean, it's a tough one. I'm not really sure. I'd like to say I'd wait too and see, really kind of assess whether firing back is the best idea, but I don't know. I don't know what I would do in that situation.
I mean, truth be told, I don't think any of us would.
yeah.
Anytime
like
I've
to
been
think
in
so.
the most stressful moments of my life, I've never reacted the way that you wanted to, right? It's
Yeah.
just, oh, shit.
How badly do you think that guy wanted to push that button, though? Oh, man, I'm sure that must have been hard. He's been staring at that button under a glass case for, like, years.
He
Sure.
gets to do like the
Whole life.
synchronized key thing
Yeah,
with
and now
another
the
dude.
time-
You know he wants to feel that button.
Now the
click.
protocol is literally telling him
like-
to do it, and he still says,
Dude, he has to put on that necklace every day with the ring on it, or on it just every day. Yeah.
Do you think the maid has to come in and dust the button? And is she really careful when she dusts it? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's why it has a little plastic
That's why it's
thing
in the glass
over it.
case.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
to keep the dust off, so it doesn't maintain.
When it's time to push that button, it's all
Oh, it's a dust cage. That's
Yeah,
right.
dust
It's a
cage.
Dust cage to keep it clean. That's why they have
That
that.
button must be spotless.
Yeah, no accidental pushing or nothing.
Yeah.
It's the dust.
Well, I don't know. I probably wouldn't push it in that situation, but who knows, man?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about killing millions of people. Even though they did it to you first, you're still doing that action. You know, you're still making that decision to take out a million more people.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's not an easy decision to have in your
big
hands. that's
factor.
for sure.
Yeah, you don't know that's happened to you first, though. That's the thing. Like, if we were sure that would happen, then it would be like, all right, well, I should probably press this button. But if you don't know, it gets difficult.
Fair.
What
Any
about you?
more morally vexing situations you got cooking there, Nico?
I do have one. I have one. I probably shouldn't say this one. It's like it's really rough.
Okay. Oh gosh. Oh, no.
Mike Diva brought this up. He's like, "This is a really awful one." So maybe we'll cut this one from the podcast. I don't know. We can make the decision afterwards.
No
okay.
cuts.
All right. So you're dealing with a Freaky Friday scenario, right?
Okay.
Your mother and your girlfriend or significant other of some sort, their minds have switched. So now
Okay.
in your
Mom and the person you're dating? Okay.
Yeah, so the person you're dating now has your mom's brain.
Oh, man.
And-
it's going to get
I
crazy.
don't like this.
Wait, there's a movie about this. There's
Freaky Friday. Freaky Friday.
there's a movie with the dude from Californication where his daughter and his wife switch minds, mind goes into body, and then so the whole movie gets into like a horny thing. Anyway,
Let's hear. I want to know the question now.
Yeah.
sorry.
We know
all
where
right.
this is going.
I could
Now I
see the
definitely-
path.
I can
I could
definitely
see the
horror.
path.
I see the
Ask the
opposite
dang
of horrors
question,
that are
Niko.
to come.
Just ask the dang question.
Okay. All right. The only way to revert them
Oh my
is to have sex with one of them.
Okay.
I knew it. One of them.
Which
Oh,
one do you
shoot.
pick?
You have your mom's body with your girlfriend's mind, and your girlfriend's body with your mom's mind.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I go body.
Yeah.
I go the mind of my lady and the body of my mom. I can at least.
I was going the opposite.
I was going opposite right here.
I thought you meant the opposite.
Because
I'm not
blindfolds
gonna-
exist. Blindfolds exist. Okay, you can just do that,
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm-
gosh.
bro.
I'd rather the burden be on me.
Think about this, Jim.
I'd rather the burden be on me. I would rather I get to
You take
go
a
to
lot of
Christmas. I would rather go to Christmas and be able to look across the table and hold that shame in me.
Get a blindfold, Jan. You suck it up and you get a blindfold.
That's what
I
I'm
guess
saying. That's what I'm saying.
That does make sense. I mean,
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying
I'm
the
saying
opposite.
mom body, girl mind.
Oh, okay,
girlfriend mind.
okay, thank God.
Yes,
Okay, okay.
I
yes.
initially was the
I
opposite,
thought you were saying the
but
opposite.
those are some really good points.
Yeah, dude. Because then, no.
I mean, because I was thinking it's obviously it can be a very visual act, but at the same time, like you're saying, you can blindfold, you can block that out as long as your mom
Drink a
doesn't
lot of
actually
alcohol
know.
and
As long as your mom doesn't
Yeah,
actually know.
yeah,
She doesn't
just
have
get
that in
black
her
saying.
mind. You
That's
know?
what I'm saying.
Yeah, my mom did not have that in her mind at all. She just flipped back all of a sudden after the
So,
deed was done.
yeah.
Oh, well, hopefully not right after the deed's done. Because then she's there right there.
Yeah.
That happened with
Again,
both.
even that reality is better than
Is
yeah.
it?
It's better than the alternative.
Oh my god.
And sorry for trampling over your introduction of the subject. I just
No, it's all
we all
good.
got it. I think we all knew.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
coming.
yeah, just immediately we're like, okay, yeah.
I'd rather kill a Hitler baby than deal with this situation.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Let's
I
go
don't.
back.
I hope that wormhole takes me to Austria and not into the bedroom in in that.
Oh god.
Oh my God.
Let's not get a time machine.
Sure, that tends to go very poorly very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, which
Oh,
time
man.
theory makes the most sense though? It's like, do you think it creates a whole new timeline, or it would just change the?
That's a good question. I
Wow.
feel like time is, I mean, it's whether or not you subscribe to the parallel universe thing, but I feel like time is already set. Everything that's happened has happened and will happen.
All
And
right,
it's just-
Dr. Manhattan. Yeah, and
Yeah.
we're
Yeah,
experiencing
That's
one
kind of what
moment.
I'm thinking,
of the-
you know, it's like, yeah.
I mean, that
But it
brings
does-
up
so
an interesting
complex.
question of free will, right? Like, what?
But here's the thing. I
right.
don't think it means you don't have free will, because I think you're dealing with two different dimensional decisions here. If you can travel through time, you're traveling. I mean, it's not technically the fourth dimension, but you're traveling through another dimension of space time. Versus free will exists in a three-dimensional space with a continuous time. So it's like we have free will, but I think if you can be a being that lives where time is something you can take
Sure,
any part of.
I still think
Yeah.
we need to redefine free will once we start like
I'm not
looking at
certain
it
that
like
free will
this.
exists.
Yeah.
Right? Because you start looking at I am a male trapped in a body in Southern California at 2020, like that.
Yeah.
There's so many variables of me just being before I even make a decision that, and so many chemicals and a bunch of gross organs,
Oh yeah.
and they're all working in unison, probably squishing the whole time
The other day
to
I
make
was like
my decision.
just taking a break from editing to like eat some freaking like veggies or something.
The fact that I have to eat
yeah, and I
has
was just like sitting there
already,
shoveling
has already
food in my-
taken free will out of my hands. Because if I had the choice, I would never eat ever. Like,
Yeah.
let's just avoid all of that business. And yeah,
Yeah,
I like
so,
food.
uh,
What do you got against
Yeah,
food?
that's-
Food
that's
is
a
great.
tough one for
Food's like
me.
one of the best
You
things
like
of
food
life.
because you're programmed to, man.
yeah, you're just digging it.
It's just
You only
chemicals in your
like
brain,
because
man.
liking is a programmed thing.
Exactly, it's dopamine. Like everything we do.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's enough moral conundrums for one podcast.
Sure.
Ended on a banger. Let's change topics for a second here. So, Jan, for a while you were studying something called chaos magic.
Oh, and I my pursuits in magical theory and thinking are constant and sometimes vexing. Sometimes
wow.
very, very.
So this
vexing.
doesn't mean that you go to like birthday parties and you do like kooky card tricks.
Kooky tricks and pull like handkerchiefs out of my mouth. No, I'm actually not allowed around birthday parties for children under a certain. No, I'm joking. No, I am not an illusionist. I've spent a lot of time studying hermetic and esoteric magics from ancient periods, the Egyptians and further back. I've studied a lot of Aleister Crowley's work with the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. I've studied a lot of Phil Hines' work with chaos magic, which is a very, very specific kind of magic, and it's all like it's all modern. It's all modern. Philosophies for alternative people, meaning which it's like the best analogy I ever heard it, the way I ever heard it put was it's like the Secret Wallet Chain Edition. So it's all the same knowledge that's in the secret. It's all the same, like you put yourself forward and like, you put stuff out in the world and it'll come back to you and all that stuff, moms really drive in. Just with like a kind of hip edge, man. It's got some nails. It'll scratch.
Can you give an example?
Sure. So, and Nick, real quick, I think your mic's out.
I can't hear Nick.
No, I guess you
he's
can't.
on quiet.
I knew it. He came in with some witty diatribe, and I knew he wasn't there. Let's give him a second. Yep. No.
Still can't hear you.
No, we can hear you.
And that's the meaning of life.
There it is.
There you go.
I
Boom.
figured it out. Did you guys hear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Okay.
damn it.
Okay, cool.
Oh, did we hear the meaning of life? No, I didn't. But yeah, I gotcha.
What?
No, we're good.
I forgot it.
I mean,
Yeah. So how does one practice this, or what exactly does this mean?
so
For you.
let's look at chaos magic. I myself am more of a hermetic magic practitioner, but chaos magic is like in magical terms the new hip thing. It's very it's kind of acknowledging that there is something to a ritualistic practice, that we practiced rituals for so long as a culture that it really is imbued in us, that it does allow you to look at situations and open up in ways that not doing rituals is preventing you from. And there are big rituals we all still do: weddings, any number of practices. Birthdays are still kind of in that territory. And Brian Greene once argued that you have this large part of your brain that is that needs a sort of religious figure, and if you don't fill it with a sort of religious figure, it will get filled in with something. So if you ever talk to someone who disagrees on politics with you and they are just way too into it, that I would argue that part of the brain they have started filling in with that idea of their politician, and I think all politicians suck. So it doesn't work for me. So I realized if I just let that part of my mind go, anything's going to get filled in there, and suddenly I'm arguing against dumb stuff. So why not fill it in with my own dumb stuff, right? With fun dumb stuff. So I'll give you an example, and this is one of Phil Hines' examples. I cannot take credit for this at all. But let's say you really want a laptop, right? And again, this kind of shows Phil Hines' mindset, because this is exactly his example. So the fact that Phil Hine, author and chaos magician extraordinaire, can't afford a laptop. But anyway, you really want a laptop. So you start to envision and embody a deity around, and you can pull from anything. You can pull from deities that actually exist. You can make up your own. You can kind of bring them in and give that deity some power through some ritualistic practice. And this is where it gets super deep, and this is where I probably couldn't cover it in one podcast session, and this is where you need to know way too much, but fill it in with some sort of ritualistic practice, whether it's scrying or doing
that's an actual physical ritual that you
doing something to honor this deity that you just created, to try to get some funds, to try to move the universe in order to get you a laptop. You have to basically make a wedge in it and then find a way to wiggle that wedge. And again,
and that makes it some sort of real thing that turns
it at
it
least
into
puts it in once again. And I am, dude, any chaos magician listening to this is going to fucking hate me, but I am at least, it is at least the secret, right? It's like The Secret. If you put it out there, it'll come back at you. If you want riches, you have to say, I want riches, right? So this is a version of that. It just brings in ritualistic practices. And unfortunately, a lot of these ancient religions, a lot of these esoteric and like hermetic religions, the Pythagoreans, all of these are not only dead religions, but we know nothing about them. We know nearly nothing. All of it got burned by, pick one of the religions you actually know about. They burned. They burned the hell out of anything that was before them. So really, it's kind of like the coloring book of religions. You have an outline, and you get to fill in the rest.
That's fun.
And dude, you get to have a bunch of tattoos, date cute gothy chicks. It's fucking rad. It's rad. But it also, again, I believe a lot of these practices are very meditative, mainly because I do meditate through most of it. And there's a lot of research around meditation showing its benefits for the mind and your body and just kind of your general mindset. But it's also, it's the tapatio of meditation, because you meditate and you also do some kooky crap that they used to do. I got a hold of some bones from a trip out to Texas with my friend Nick Laurent. And you take bones and throw them into a pile and meditate and stare at them. And that's called scrying, right? And you try to take whatever the shape the bones have formed, you try to take like your first impression of it and meditate on that symbol. And then later on, try to look up what that symbol means or find some association with it. Now, is this helpful? Is this a waste of time? Does it make me a more interesting person? I don't know. I truly don't know.
But when you take part in that ritual, say the bone one, for example.
Sure, scrying. You could do it with a bowl or clarity in the moment. Let's say. So sometimes.
Sorry, real quick. What was the question, Christian?
Yeah,
I didn't.
I was just saying, So when you take part in that ritual or whatever, what are you getting out of that? Is it something as simple as you might want a laptop in the future, and you're taking part to get that laptop, or is there something different for you?
Sure, it depends. It depends on the rituals. It depends on exactly what I go into it doing. I'll give you a cutesy example that I just had. My lady was traveling from here to another state, so the airports right now are not great.
Yeah,
not great. So the Apollo, the Greek god, or Roman, anyone? I think he's Greek.
Mercury, right?
Roman no, he's Greek and Roman's Mercury.
And Mercury, yes, thank you. So yes, Greek. Apollo was mentioned twice that day. So we did a small blessing to Apollo, giving him a blessing of some sort. We said a chant. I believe. I probably shouldn't say the chant, or it'll lose its power. But that kept her safe between here and New York. Now, did it work? I don't know, but it was fun to do, and it's now a story we have, and it made her smile. So I'm pretty sure I win.
So
You win religion.
So essentially, you're, I guess in other religions, you're praying, or you're, but you don't necessarily have this one deity that you're praying to. You can spread it out almost in this way.
And absolutely, I guess. Yes, I guess absolutely. I grew up under the with the veil of the Catholic Church in the background, and look, love me and my Catholics, it just didn't quite work for me. So I lost religion at a point, and I've always envied it in everyone I meet that is religious. It just seems so. It seems so simple and cool. It like makes sense to them, and it's never made sense to me. So I didn't want something else to sort of, again, occupy that space. So I'm sort of finding my own way of praying and being faithful to a cause that I can, I can.
I think there's something to that, man.
Totally.
I really do. Yeah. I mean, I open Premiere every day, and I think by doing that ritual, I've made Dobie a real thing, and everyone else.
But here's the thing, and
honestly, though,
we have created an entity that is Dobie. You know what? Actually, let me ask you guys a question. Because this is a fun thought experiment. I go down rabbit holes all the time. Slenderman. Here's a concept, right?
Yes.
It got created through the aberrant nature of the internet. Yeah, just chat rooms and people trying to make false photos and trick and somehow this entity was formed. And sure, that entity didn't exist until two girls tried to kill someone, or did. Did they successfully?
I think there was a murder that came of it, and then there was some other attempts. But
So now we have to consider.
But they killed somebody in the name of Slenderman,
I
or whatever.
believe so. Some little.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up. And
Please do.
give us a
Please
lowdown.
do. Physical actions were made based upon this fictional being. So I would argue Slenderman is real, right? There is an entity that has caused people to act. Is he physically real? Well, that would be fun, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it, guys?
But most likely it's an ideology that has gotten people to make action.
If you guys want to just pause this conversation real quick, I can give you the background on this stabbing.
Oh yeah.
Slenderman stabbing occurred on May 31st in 2014 in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Two 12-year-old girls lured their best friend into the woods and stabbed her 19 times in an attempt to prove the fictional character Slenderman was in fact real. The victim crawled to a road where she was found. She recovered after 6 days in the hospital.
Wow.
Must have been a short knife.
I know, 19 times.
Just bad shot.
Yeah.
I mean,
The perpetrators were found not guilty by mental disease or defect.
Whoa.
and the Slender
being
Man
12-year-olds.
and the Slender Man's tendrils dig deeper. I'm just, what do you think about, like, is Slender Man real in the ideas, in the way that I just presented?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess
to them he was real and made them kill or try to.
He's real in the sense that he is an ideology that some people have adopted and now have made decisions based off of.
I mean, you can argue that's as real as it gets.
Everything. Yeah, you can argue
that it's ever gotten.
Religion gets.
But I won't go there.
Yeah.
Dude, we got so midnight gospel in here. This is so nuts.
Those girls trying to kill for the name of Slenderman is realer than most religious people or people who say they're religious.
It's like an actual action that they take.
Sure, they're actually
Not
that it was good or that they should have.
What were they trying to prove? Was Slenderman supposed to come when you're killing somebody? What were they trying?
I don't think there was ever a
12 years old.
And I back in the day did a Slenderman short, and there was no, when we were researching that, there was no like main plot line or thread with him. It was just a bunch of people making up stuff.
Whatever people wanted with Slenderman. It's kind of
it
gross.
Niko, you've been silent, just staring at a bunch of
no doubt
Slenderman.
Slenderman hole now.
Just reading about this stabbing, man.
Dude.
The actual attack took place in a nearby forest during a game of hide and seek. Lutner was pinned down and stabbed 19 times in the arms, legs, and torso with a kitchen knife with a 5-inch long blade. 2 wounds were to major organs. One missed a major artery of her heart by less than a millimeter. Another went through her diaphragm, cutting into her liver and stomach. Wire told the victim to lay down because the blood will come out slower. Wire and Geyser then told Lutner that they would get help, but instead simply left. Lutner dragged herself to a nearby road where she was found by a cyclist, Greg Steinberg.
Imagine just biking along a road
and that comes out.
Lady girl, like, gosh, like.
In the aftermath of the stabbing, the creepypasta wiki was blocked throughout the Waukesha school district. Man, on the Tuesday following the stabbing, Slenderman creator Eric Knudsen said, "I am deeply saddened by the tragedy in Wisconsin. My heart goes out to the families of those affected by terrible acts." Basically, those girls were committed to mental institutions. Pretty gnarly stuff. Somebody did not get out much to have a grasp on reality, and probably has really shitty parents. Yeah.
It could be so. That could apply to anything, though. It's like if the Christian church all of a sudden started telling people that your way to get into heaven is to kill people.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to be well accepted, but how many people are going to do that? How many people might start making decisions based on what they're being
Sure.
Well,
I like
let's
this.
Go back and let's look up on Wikipedia the Crusades here. I think there were several of them.
There's the history buff coming in with exactly what happened.
Yeah. Dude, I like this quote from the police chief. The stabbing should be a wake-up call for all parents. The internet is full of information and wonderful sites that teach and entertain, but that it can also be full of dark and wicked things.
That's so dramatic.
So, by the fact that these girls went and stabbed somebody, does that make the monster real?
That is my question. I think there's at least a nugget in there
Yeah, I think
that
there's something to it.
yeah.
The fact
It like through somehow it is now an entity in the zeitgeist. Like if
There's this really good French miniseries called Marianne that's on Netflix, I believe. Check it out. It deals with this. It's really cool, dude. I think you guys would dig it. It's very dark. It's all in French. Very quirky. Niko, I know you'd like it because of the French connection.
But
But
what is it?
it deals with this writer, and I'm not going to give much away, but she has created this based on her true life events. She's created this character named Marianne, who is a spirit, a vengeful witch spirit. And she stops writing this book series, which has become very, very popular. And when she stops writing this series, she starts getting visions of the spirit coming to her, telling her, you have to write more. You have to write more.
Telling my
You
story.
need to feed my power. You need to feed my spirit. This witch has become addicted to the fame, you know.
Wow.
And it's a really cool story the way it plays out. But you guys should check
I just added that to my list.
Marion.
But it deals with that idea of like, what power does the written word and does notoriety and fame give to these like abstract, maybe not even, you know,
I mean, a
grounded
lot.
concepts. So
A lot. You know, in fact, so, you know, some of the people listening to this podcast might know that I have a short film I've been working on called You Monster, which is,
right.
I summarize it best in this little quote here. The gaze of the audience drives people to do bad things. And it's true. Like, people literally risk their lives. Heck, people kill themselves
kill themselves
in front
all
of
the time.
people just because they need that gaze of the audience. It's really kind of fucked up. If you think about it. So that's what this short film is about, but it also sounds like that's kind of the a different twist on that metaphor for Marianne, which is what you're talking about.
It almost is literally, yeah. There's some scenes that are very similar. Yeah, dude,
think-
that's really relevant.
I think that's something that people really should keep in mind when they watch things. Like when you go to watch a video, it's like, oh, these people are really shitty. Look at this video they made. Like when you go to watch their video, you're giving them power. You know, when you give people attention, you're giving them power. You know, even if they're not getting ad revenue, quote unquote, like still going and watching somebody's media and letting them occupy your time and your energy, you are giving them power.
Like this kind of comes back to my hermetic beliefs, but you only have you have a lifetime of time, and every bit of everything you watch, everything you pay attention to, everything you think about is taking a chunk of that portion of time and giving it the energy out to that thing. So you got to watch out what you put in front of you. You got to watch out what you start really delving into. It would say once you stare into the void or the abyss stares back.
Stare not into the void. Stare. What is it? Something.
Yeah, I don't know the
monsters.
exact quote. Yeah.
Don't look over there.
Let's the void stare
Hey,
back
don't
into
look
you.
over there.
It's like he who something monsters, lest you become a monster yourself. Something.
Sure, something to the
Fight
extent.
monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster. And if
There we
thou
go.
belong into the abyss will also gaze into thee.
Yep. Yeah.
So what do you guys think about, so to take this a little bit further, what do you guys think about all the serial killer things that Netflix has been putting out, where it's like Ted Bundy in his own words and all that kind of stuff?
It's horrible.
Is that not just
it's murder
glorifying?
porn.
It's you're making them stars.
Yeah, we were
As
talking
a
about this,
kid,
huh?
as a kid though, because growing up, I was always into that side of the alt world. There is that weird. I'm very attracted to weird stories, right? And serial killers have some of the weirdest. And it's not that you're proliferating the serial killer, or let's use Ted Bundy as an example. I think a lot of modern stuff, and it depends on where you go and what you watch, what you plug into, but I think it's just a fascination of seeing how far people can go. You're able to somewhat you're able to connect with moments and situations and really start to see how scary people can be through some of these stories. And I think when Netflix does give you stuff that kind of pulls some of the punches or perhaps glorifies them, yeah, that's extremely bad. But I don't think very few people think Ted Bundy's a cool guy, right? Fuck that dude.
Very few.
I mean, he's a piece of shit.
Still, but you can think somebody's a piece of shit. But when you're watching them in a TV show, you're like, boy, this guy's charismatic. I want to watch him for a couple hours of my life. You know.
So did a lot of juries.
There was a lot of like, you know, when that Ted Bundy show was announced with what's his name playing him, everyone was swooning over him, and Zac Efron.
Sure.
And like, it's just that sort of
funny.
idolization that is kind of weird, man. Like, I don't think it should be like, don't make that. You're not allowed to like, but. It's the nicknames. It's the cool nicknames. It's the publishing of the names in bold on the front page of the paper. You know,
and that they censor. Look, they romanticize a lot of the kills because when you actually start to read, or like when you actually start to dig into what some of these serial killers did, it very much stops being cool quick, right? It just goes like,
it's sad.
And awful, and leaves you awake at night. It's almost like every statistic has like, and he left 8 wounded. Each one of those wounded stories is a awful, just life-changing event that just, and I think, a lot of these modern shows are really just stepping over the atrocities of the crime, which is, again, unfortunately, a part of the entertainment is the atrocity of the crime. That's why we talk about it. That's why Jack the Ripper is infamous, right?
We do similar stuff. So, like, as filmmakers, storytellers. So
we recently talked about the same thing, but with instead of murders, the Tiger King, right? The Joe guy. All he wanted was to get famous and for people to watch him and to do this thing. And while he, wasn't doing horrible things to animals, everybody is watching this Netflix show. Yeah. So it's like, should you be watching this Netflix show? Does it glorify him in a way and put funds even to his pocket for watching this?
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, it's. I mean,
we all have this
and again, giving him that power.
Like, what is
like where's the weight go? Like, sure, I got some information and I'm more informed about what's going on in that animal abuse in that time of the country, but did I just give Joe Exotic 8 hours of my life by watching a documentary? And
totally, we all gave him that power. Oh man,
he's in prison.
He got so much
gathering power right now in his cell.
He's a Super Saiyan right now.
He's dropping dead next to him. They're like, "How is this happening?" He's just there. His mullet's like fucking.
His mullet's like sticking straight up, and it's just becoming more blonde.
I guess man, I don't know. Does it become a moral question? Like, should you be watching these things? Does it put them on that pedestal? I mean,
I think you can watch stuff about this, but it's how it's phrased. Like that documentary, it made Joe Exotic a charismatic character. Like it didn't, it said he's a shitty guy. It didn't go nearly as hard on him as it could have. And they took somebody like Carol Baskin and made her a villain. And once again, like it's tough, like, cause now having done worked on Corridor for so long and seen like Corridor crew videos get made, like the moment it shows somebody like Carol Baskin, like smiling in slow motion over somebody talking about how mean she is. And, like it's Joe Exotic saying that, like immediately, like my lights go off. I'm like, they're manipulating me. Like, it's like, that's manipulating 101. Like editing 101 is like show a slow motion shot of a person smiling while you hear somebody talking about how shitty they are and they look like an asshole. It's like whether or not they are an asshole.
We did the same thing when when you were getting framed for messing up the camera room, and Sam's talking about like how there's something going on in your mind. Literally cut to you smiling in slow motion as Sam's like, I think there's something much darker at play there, and it plays out exactly
literally
like
the
a Carol
same
Baskin
exact
moment.
example.
And it's like, the moment that starts happening in edit, I realize it. I'm like, oh shit, they're manipulating me, and like they didn't have the material to do it without having to fake it. And now suddenly it feels like it's false, So it's the kind of thing, like,
I think there's an issue with not everybody watches that and has that light go off and be like, oh, I'm getting manipulated.
I think the vast majority.
I'm getting feeded in. I'm feeding into this even more.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, reality TV gets away with that a lot. And
lot.
While most people know that it's set up,
based off
you would be so surprised how many people think that all that drama, those relationships and those fights are totally real. It's like the name reality TV is about the only thing reality about that.
And that makes it worse because I feel like it translates and ruins some of those reality stars in real life, because people go at them as if as if they know everything and as if what they're showing on the show is the real life. And so then they feel totally unable to go attack them on social media or whatever.
As if these people are two-dimensional, as if they have one standpoint, or don't live complicated lives. But yeah.
I would love to live
Conundrum
in a time where we don't even print the names of killers in the paper. We don't do any of that stuff. You should get a crappy nickname. I just saw a thing. It was really funny. I forget on Reddit what post it was, but it was like, why do we give serial killers cool names? Like, why can't we give them bad nicknames that make them sound like the cowardly killer, like the I shat myself as I killed myself in prison killer, or like, give them names that no one wants to aspire to, not like the dark red killer, the midnight strangler. Like, come on, I know
it's a good point. But that's like media, they're getting those clicks and getting those views, and they want you to look at their reporting of it, and they want you to watch their thing. And oh man, this news media gave him the best serial killer nickname he could have, and now everybody knows who he is.
There have been studies done. I don't have the source on me, but you can look them up real easily. Most shooters that have been involved in shootings in the recent history of our country have been, once they snooped through all their computers and went through all their search history, they found that they were fanatically interested in serial killers and shooters who had operated.
Screw you! So me and all of my friends are going down, and we're just interested in extreme stuff, and suddenly we're mass shooters. 100% of mass shooters.
That's not what I'm saying.
Not massive amounts of people. Why don't we focus on that? 100% of mass shooters have masturbated.
I'm not saying it's causation. I'm not saying causation. I'm just saying it correlates that when.
I'm not okay with this either. 100%
I think you're misunderstanding me, Jay.
Almost 3 to 5 meals a day. Almost all of them.
I think Nick has a valid point. I think Nick has a valid point.
It's not a matter of me having a point. It's the truth. Like, you can go look.
I'm coming at me like that, son. Coming at me like that.
I'm not coming at you. My girlfriend is obsessed with murder stuff.
Serial killer stuff is a serial killer, but every serial killer reads this stuff.
And I'm not talking about serial killers exactly. I'm specifically talking about mass shooters.
Gotcha.
Mass shooters have a fetish of other mass shooters that come before them because they like the fame. Their whole point of, instead of I could either kill myself and never be heard about, or I could shoot a bunch of people and then be on a paper and be talked about and be, all over the news. Of course they're going to research these people and look up to them because that's the fame they're trying to achieve.
That's what they want.
I'm not saying that if you're interested in true crime shows and serial killers, then you're a killer. No, but it's pretty interesting that I guess marketing is what leads a lot of these kids to maybe go more extreme than if there wasn't that, pillar of excellence for a killer that they could look at and be like, I want to be like
the Frighteners comes to mind when Gary Busey's kid is going, we're going to have 33. I think Dahmer got 33 or,
Exactly.
Sure.
I mean, it's a fan club.
I have a term for this, Nick, and I call it screaming into the void, because we're all temporary here. Things pass. The universe is cold and indifferent to us. Yep. And so everybody's screaming into the void in different ways to try to be remembered. And when I see graffiti on the side of the bridge, driving down the street, it's that's screaming into the void. That's somebody trying to shout out, be like, this is my name. I'm just one of 7 billion people on this planet. I'm realistically insignificant.
But I made a mark right here. You could see it. Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. On that point, I have a question for all you guys. How many generations back do you know the names of your family members?
2.
That's what I'm saying.
Like my great-grandparents, the ones I actually knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, but beyond that, you don't know who they are. You don't know what they did.
Yeah.
No, not really.
There you go. Scream as much as you want.
Yeah, no kidding.
Your own family won't know your name in 2 generations.
Wait until the universe gets destroyed by its own heat death.
Exactly.
But I
scream louder.
I know Adolf.
Dude, you have to start
he was around a long time ago.
There you go. Christian's cool.
So there's there's a level to it where you do last the test of time or whatever.
This is why I love like Hispanic, Mexican culture, especially where they really like
The
keep
Dia de
their
los
family
Muertos.
close and they really remember them. It's like part of. I really wish Western culture could bring that in, and I'd like to try. But
Dude, someone
like
just
just
Coco.
like really remembering your family and appreciating, you know, where
Oh
you came
man,
from.
sure.
But
For real
Yeah.
though.
as a Jew who came from a World War II weird family thing, I guess I kind of like look at that like, oh, you know, your family like from like generations back. Like I look at that like that's really cool. Like to be able to do that.
Yeah.
It's we can scream all we want.
So this podcast summarizes. This is the end of us screaming into the void. Now we'll upload this to the internet.
But we covered such a multicolored universe of subjects. Like we ping ponged across a
Oh, dude.
mental landscape that I can't quite grasp.
It was great, dude. What a good
Welcome to the Corridor
conversation.
Cast.
Yeah.
Hey,
This is why we do the Corridor Cast. It's for interesting conversations like this one.
Feels like 10 minutes have gone by, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in fact,
Time
I
is
think
it?
we're at the end of
We're
our
at the end.
podcast time. We're at the hour.
Darn.
So yeah, you know, I'm really glad that people are tuning into this thing and listening to us. By the way, on the last podcast, I mentioned the site, you know, the new corridordigital.com
Oh yeah.
streaming site that we're building, and a bunch of people gave us awesome feedback. Some people signed up for memberships, which is super cool. Thank you so much for doing that.
whoop, whoop.
Yeah, whoop whoop. And you know, there's more coming. We're still working on it. And once again, like any and all comments on that, you know, as people go and explore it and share their experiences with it, or if you even sign up for a membership, we super appreciate it. But because we are hard at work building that thing to, and you know, Jake mentioned this, but like people are like, well, why are you doing another streaming service when there's already a bunch of streaming services out there? And it's like, well, first off, it's $4 a month, which is, you know, the price of a coffee, less than the price of a coffee these days.
Seriously.
So it's not like you're paying $20 a month for this thing. But it's us trying to value the viewer more compared to how they're valued on other places. Like YouTube values your view at 1/1000th of a penny, if that. Whereas on our website, you'd be valued a lot more than that. You know, I think Jake put it simply where it's like you'd have to watch a video 4,000 times to equate your one monthly membership fee on the site, you know? And it lets us do so much more with the audience that's there. It lets us go out and create crazier content, better content, all while having, you know, I guess a core audience without us having to go out there and like please 10 million people just to make it happen. You know, so and there's a lot of other things going on too that are good. Like for example, getting a little bit away from having YouTube control our entire business model and livelihoods. I love YouTube. Don't get me wrong, but you know,
Who
you never
knows?
know.
I'm also
Yeah.
really
Never
excited
know.
for the
Who knows?
possibility
That's
that
always
the
been the
vlog is
question.
coming back, possibly.
Yeah, the
on
vlog is
site,
coming back.
which would be perfect because like it's just the perfect place for it, where the core audience is, you know.
Well, you
Yeah.
guys get to decide with those corridor coins. So if you guys want the
Yeah.
vlog,
Oh yeah,
you
those
vote for the
core
vlogs. If
coins.
you want us to make a different series, you vote for the series. So it's a cool.
Yeah, imagine if you could tell Netflix where you want them to spend your membership. So that's the one thing that we're going to do differently than everybody else out there. It's a streaming service, but you actually get to say as to what productions your money goes towards.
So corridordigital.com, check it out.
Yeah. Cool.
It's in beta right now, right? Or is it?
Yep, it's in beta right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
pretty much
So-
only our patrons and our corridor cast people know about it, other than word of mouth.
Sweet.
So
Yeah.
this is the core audience here.
Yeah.
All the croutons. Getting the salad.
Croutons. Yep. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Corridor Cast. We really appreciate it. We'll be back next week with another hip conversation where we talk about who knows.
Legos.
Oh, you know, I
Legos.
really want to talk about the guys who tried to invade Venezuela.
Oh,
Dude,
Yeah,
yes,
we did
those
touch
guys
on that.
are.
Can we
Oh,
please just talk
Yeah.
about
Save
it
it
next
for the
time?
next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's such a fascinating
Dude.
story. All right.
I don't know
We
anything
touched
about
upon
it,
like
so I'm
the Cuban
excited to
Missile
learn
Crisis
more.
and Bay of Pigs, and I was gonna like transition it over to that, but
to just a bunch of loons. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
dude, yeah,
Dude,
fun
and we got to
stuff.
talk about that F1 series that's on Netflix too. I've started watching that. It's so good.
Really.
Well, the thing is, the first season's good, and the second season's becoming a reality show, and that's pissing me off. Maybe it's just for the first 2 episodes. So we'll get
I
to
want to
that
hear
too.
about it.
All right.
All right, guys. Good stuff. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye, guys.